And hello, everyone. Welcome for joining us on the program today. Excited to have you. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of our latest content. If you want to take us on the go, we are also available wherever podcasts are available. We are on your favorite podcast app, so make sure to give us a like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our latest videos. So, of course, we are in a little bit of a dead time, but some interesting news coming out of Jets camp. And there's a lot I want to talk about this because this also goes to a point that I made earlier this offseason. I will get to that in a little bit, but it is the rumblings that the Jets' first major position battle will be the center position between Josh Myers, who's 27, Jets signed this offseason, and, of course, Joe Tippman. Now, Tippman, of course, has been the center for the last 2 years, going to be 24 at the end of the next season, with Myers being 27. Myers, of course, on a one-year deal. But some interesting things about Myers. Again, he started over 50 games in the NFL and also has had experience with the Jets' current quarterback, Justin Fields, as he was the center at Ohio State when Fields was there. So I've seen a lot of Jet fans react to this and really give a lot of 2 cents on Joe Tippman being the team's long-term center. And I like Joe Tippman at center, but there's something I think we have to keep in mind here with this new regime. This is a regime that is coming in completely fresh. And there's going to be some guys that are going to benefit and some guys it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable with for this new regime, this new offense that they're going to run. And one of the things I brought up was Joe Tippman. And when Myers was signed, I talked about this on the show back then, was this was a good depth move because it allowed Tippman, let's say in case there's a guard injury, to kick out to guard where he's played very well and has really great tape as a guard. And Myers could play the center position and give you some flexibility. Now, I do think that there is something both here short-term and long-term, but let's talk in the short term. Myers starting the season at center over Tippman, I do think would be a big surprise. But is there a chance that the Jets are looking to groom Tippman to be more of a guard? They feel he could be more of a guard. Now, one of the things when Tippman came out of college, and one of the biggest things that was talked about was his size, being around 6'6" in height. Traditionally, centers are a bit shorter because of being on the interior. You want to have that leverage to be able to fire out low and get underneath the pad level of a defensive tackle. And to his credit, despite his size, Tippman, I think, has done very well. But do the Jets view him long-term as a better guard because of his size? Again, he has good footwork. He can really kick out and be good at the next level. And do they feel like Myers might be a safer center? And maybe Myers has more chemistry with Justin Fields, because as good as Tippman has been and as much improvement we've seen from Tippman, we've also seen some warts in his game, snapping being one of the major issues, of course. Now, I do think he's worked very hard on correcting that, but maybe this team and this organization wants to do a complete refresh and move him to guard, and they view him as a long-term guard for this team. Which leads me into my next point. And again, guys, if you want to jump to the front of the line, use that super chat feature to jump to the front of the line. And if you want to make a donation to the channel as well, we will get to your comments in just a few moments. But I think this is a bigger picture thing with the Jets. And again, I know Myers is only on a one-year contract, but this brings me back to a point I made earlier in the offseason. And I talked about this, I think, a couple of times on the show, but I'll go into this. The Jets have some key pieces that we feel they're going to look to build around long-term. Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, potentially Jermaine Johnson. There's a lot of pieces that are coming up that need to get paid. And because of that, you wonder how the Jets are going to budget it. One of the more intriguing players, I think, for the Jets long-term is Elijah Vera Tucker, entering his 5th season. This will be his 5th-year option. He will be a free agent at the end of next season. Now, again, Vera Tucker, still very young, going to be 26 at the end of the season. And I do think that with Vera Tucker, he can definitely play up to the level of be a Pro Bowl caliber guard. But do the Jets look at this as a short-term or a one-year deal with AVT for 2 reasons? Number one, do they feel they're not going to be able to come up to that price point to pay him to be an elite guard on this team? Now, again, if you have a great offensive lineman, you want to pay that offensive lineman. And I understand the rationale behind that. But this is also an organization that is, I think, really shifting to a lot more analytics. And the analytics will tell you that AVT has major durability concerns and you might not want to lock him into a long-term contract. Now, full disclosure, I love AVT. I think AVT, when he's on the field, is an elite guard, and I want him to be a part of this team's future. But when you look at all the players that the Jets are going to have to make decisions on, and I know that AVT right now isn't at the top of this list, but you look at the Jets, they have Tippman under control. Maybe they view him as a better guard long term. Again, going to be 24 years old, 2 years younger than AVT. But the big thing that comes down with hurts AVT is if he gets hurt again this year, do the Jets want to pay him? Even if AVT plays 14 or 15 games, that's still not going to be a full season. And you look the last 3 years, this I think is the most telling stat. AVT out of the potential 51 games over 3 seasons, the last 3 years, has played in only 27 games, just slightly over 50%. And you look at someone that's had 2 lower body injuries that are substantial injuries, that maybe the Jets are looking at this long term, that they don't want to give Elijah Vera Tucker a $17, $18 million contract to be a guard for this team because they feel there's a cheaper, maybe even a better long-term option in-house. Now, this is all speculation. This is how I think the Jets might be approaching this, but AVT is kind of in this odd spot for the Jets. If he has an unbelievable season, I think he's going to want to test the open market and get as much money as he can. And if he does, and the Jets don't view him as a long-term option, in a way that could be good for the Jets. Because one thing we've learned from Darren Muji is he clearly values the compensatory picks. And if Elijah Vera Tucker gets paid as a high-end guard, you're likely going to get a 4th, potentially even a 3rd-round pick back for him. Now, again, I know that's more of a consolation prize, but if this team feels that Tippman is a better long-term guard, gives them more durability, that could be something they look into. And look, Vera Tucker could maybe play 13 or 14 games next year, get nicked up, but a team out in free agency still will give him a massive contract. But the Jets will look and go, we're really going to invest 4 or 5 year contract or a 3-year contract with an average salary close to $20 million, maybe even more, for a guard that has gotten hurt every single year since his rookie season, for a guard that, once again, as you get older, the body breaks down more. Do you want to invest into a 26-year-old guard that, again, has had a significant injury history? So that's the way I've been looking at this Joe Tippman and Josh Myers competition. Is I do think that there will be competition on this team. We know Aaron Glenn wants to see that competition on the team, but I have this feeling that this is possibly one of the options. Is maybe this team, because it's clear this team is looking to rebuild and build young and build a strong core. Tippman's under contract. Elijah Vera Tucker at the end of this year is a free agent. Do Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji look at Joe Tippman as this team's future guard for the next 4 to 5 years? And do they look at AVT as someone that has had durability issues? Now, again, the tape is great when he's on the field, but availability is one of the key aspects of a football player. And look, AVT got it out last year, was able to get through 15 games, missed 2 starts. But when you look at the data, and you know Darren Muji is going to be huge on the data, they're going to look at it and go 27 out of 51 games. If he misses 3 games this year, again, that still puts it close to about 60%. But 4 seasons, a guy's only playing 60% of the games. That's not exactly great numbers, and not great numbers that you want to give a guy a massive contract to. Let's get to your comments. And again, super chat to jump to the front of the line so you can get your comments in. Drones, the common listener and viewer, great to have you back, Drones. This line is overhyped. That's the vibe I'm getting. And y'all keep wanting us first-round picks on linemen. Kill me every year. Look, I still think this offensive line is going to be very good, but I'm very curious to see how these new offensive linemen will fit in a very different scheme this upcoming season. Audition. Do you think the battle for center is simply an Aaron Glenn motivational tacking? That's a good question, Audition. It could be. I think a lot of it, too, is, again, when you look at a lot of the positions with the Jets, this is one of the few positions where the Jets have 2 legitimate starters at the position who are both young. I mean, let's face it. We know the tackles are set because we know that Max Mitchell isn't going to push one of those 2 tackles. We know that the guard position probably – with the backups that they have there right now, no one's really going to push AVT or Simpson. The tight end room, I think it's pretty much maybe a bit of a battle for tight end 2. But again, I don't think that's really that serious. I think the big position battles are going to be in the receiving room just for the pecking order, seeing if Malachi Corley took a step this offseason, seeing how quickly that the new rookies can get involved in the deal. But you look, the defensive tackle room, there isn't, I think that will be a competition, but there's a lot of guys that, again, don't have a ton of starting experience. Where you look at this center room, I mean, we're talking about 2 centers that have played well over 30 starts at the position. So it could be a motivational tactic, but we'll have to see. Again, I also wonder, too, do they view Tippman as a guard? I mean, many in the drafting circles thought he'd be a better guard than a center because of his size, because of the leverage that he would have trouble getting being 6'6", 6'5" at that center position. Drones, I think it's a little glow motivation, Tippman being mid, honestly. Look, I think Tippman is still a very good player. But again, I can see it being a motivational tactic. And look, everything has to be earned with a new regime. Because it's one thing when you're a high draft pick of a foreign regime. You know that that regime is invested in you because they've obviously invested in you because they made it a point to draft you at a certain spot. But now when you have a new regime that didn't draft you, that doesn't have any ties in you, it opens it up. And again, they signed this center to come in and compete with Tippman. So they obviously like something about him, Darren Muji or Aaron Glenn, when they were going through the free agency process. Because let's be honest, the Jets didn't really go out and spend a ton in free agency. The Jets really weren't hyper aggressive in free agency, but I do think they made some smart, shrewd signings that I think we're going to see compete in this training camp. Danger Zone, give him a like, subscribe, view him every Friday night. Hit that like button, guys. Give us a subscribe so you don't miss any of the latest. So Drones brought up an interesting one. AVT, I'm franchise tagging. No way I'm going to resign him. So you bring up an interesting point. So the franchise tag, I also am curious too, because you have Jermaine's contract coming to an end. Do they maybe franchise tag him? I mean, Breece Hall is obviously an option. I think in a perfect world, if Breece Hall has a really good season, the Jets will franchise tag him because we see it with the running back position all the time. AVT, though, if you were to franchise tag him, he'd be one of the top 5 paid guards in the league. And even if he has a Pro Bowl season, I don't know if you feel comfortable giving him that massive cap number. Where when you look at the running back number and the running back salary, it's a lot more negotiable and it's a lot easier to handle with the franchise tag. That's why so many teams do the franchise tag. So even though Drones, it is a good option, and I do like the creative thinking that you're going with, I just feel like there's going to be other players, especially Breece Hall. Like, I feel like if you had to ask me if the Jets use a franchise tag next year on a player, my money would be on Breece Hall. That would be my money. Now, could they use it on AVT? Sure. But I kind of also wonder, too, does this regime not view him worth that much money and say, you know what, we're better off going out and getting a good comp pick for AVT as opposed to paying him upwards of $19, $20 million toward our cap. I mean, we're going to see who this team values. We're going to see who this team really appreciates. And look, I love AVT too, Danger Zone. But we have to remember this regime didn't draft Elijah Vera Tucker. This regime didn't trade multiple assets to go up and get Elijah Vera Tucker. This is not the regime that invested all this time and money into Elijah Vera Tucker. This is a whole new, fresh set of eyes and a whole new philosophy. And as much as I love AVT, I think they're going to be looking very hard at his durability. I mean, Garrett Wilson has played. You look at Sauce Gardner, he has played. Jermaine Johnson had an unfortunate injury, but before that, he played a lot. And let's not forget, too, the Jets have some big decisions on other players. I think a one under the radar could be Will McDonald. If Will McDonald is pacing to have another double-digit sack year, I think the Jets need to lock him up early before that number just keeps going up and up. I mean, there's certain players on this team that you look at and you're going, okay, you only have so much of this pie that is the salary cap you can hand out. We know Sauce is going to get a big chunk. We know Garrett's going to get a big chunk. Jermaine's probably going to get a nice chunk. And like I said, there's other players we're not talking about. Will McDonald has a big season. I think the Jets, it'd be smart to lock him up early before that number just keeps going up and up. Because again, he had 10 sacks last year. If he has another double-digit sack year, I mean, we went through a desert of sackless years with the Jets where Bryce Huff finally got double-digit sacks. It was the guy was John Abraham before that. So, I would look into that, and basically, I think all options will be laid. Drones, to be honest, I actually kind of agree with you. I would not let him walk. If he has a great year, I would franchise tag him and try to trade him, because I think you could get a decent draft pick back for him for that. And again, I don't think you should just let go of an asset. Now, again, he still would give you a comp pick, but I also see a scenario. I wouldn't rule this out too. And in my last video, I talked about X Factor Jets, and Braylon Allen was one of them. And I said this: if Braylon Allen emerges and really shows he can be a number one running back for a team, there's a scenario where maybe midseason some team calls the Jets and says, we'll offer you our first round pick because we're going to go for the Super Bowl. And the Jets might look at where they are and say, well, we're going to be in the quarterback hunt. This is a deep draft class. We need to get as much ammunition to go up and get a quarterback as possible. That could be a scenario. Again, there's a lot of different scenarios that can happen this season, but that is one I could clearly see happening. It'd be a huge disadvantage to lock him in for cheaper due to his health and then him stay healthy. For us, will he? I don't know. It's a calculated risk. Are you talking about McDonald? I'm guessing danger zone, just so I can clarify there. I think you're going to see him used a lot as a receiver. I almost feel like he's going to be used a lot more as a slot receiver than we're credit for. But again, I want to see what happens. No way I'm paying McDonald unless he has like 13 plus sacks. I'm saying if he's projecting, like if it's midseason and he's at like 5.5, 6 sacks, like I would look to project long-term to lock him in for a long-term contract. Because again, pass rushers are expensive. And the longer you wait to pay someone, that number just continues to go up and up and up. I'd let Breece walk, but not up the middle because I want him to reach the exit to go on danger zone. Very nicely done. Look, I'm very curious to see Breece Hall behind a good offensive line in an offense that's going to be really focused on the run game. I think when he came in his rookie season, it was clear that the offense ran through him. The last 2 years, it ran through Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers basically dictated where the football went. And he made it clear, when Aaron Rodgers was brought in, I really thought that this was going to be a team that relied on the running game and only used Aaron Rodgers to throw the ball maybe 35, 40 times a game. I thought they were going to do everything to protect Rodgers, make it easier for Rodgers. Rodgers could go off the play action boot, but instead it was Aaron Rodgers in a shotgun, throwing the ball around the yard with his best buddies. That's what it was basically last year. I think Fields, Hall, and Allen in that O-line could be a sneaky dangerous. Look, I do think, Blake, that this is an offense that's going to be very unique. You're not going to see this offense really run in the NFL. You're going to see a lot of power sets. You're going to see, I think, a lot of jet sweeps, a lot of motion. And I think you're going to see a lot of options. Like I have said this on this channel before, but you can run a lot of different scenarios with this team. And I think this team could be a very tricky team to defend, especially because you see a lot of these teams now building light pat front so they can get after the quarterback in the pass rush. Like one play design, like I brought up on this channel, I'll go through it quick, is basically you have Justin Fields in the shotgun. You have, let's say, Breece Hall shadowing him to his right. You motion Malachi Corley from the slot into the backfield, and you snap the ball. As a defense, the hard thing is just think about just the run options. Justin Fields keeps it on a keeper. Breece Hall takes it. Or you have Malachi Corley with a full head of steam going around the edge. And that's just the run options. It could be a design play action pass. You could sneak Garrett Wilson over the middle on a quick slant. You can put Taylor going on a quick out or coming across the middle. I mean, there's a lot of different options that these running backs and this running quarterback give you, which I don't think that this Jet team has had. And I think it'll be an intriguing offense. If you're someone that wants this team to throw the ball around the yard and you love offensive football where the quarterback is just efficient, I think you're not going to like this offense. But if you want an offense that's more smash mouth, if you want an offense that's going to go into more bags of tricks, if you're looking for an offense that, again, is going to rely on the running game, it might not be the sexiest offense, but I do think that's what this Jet team is going to look like. Yeah, 13. Why 13? Like, Drones, what if he gets 12? I mean, I mean, what if he gets the dozen instead just the Baker's dozen? I'm just saying, like, you know, what if he got 12 and a half? That good enough? So I love how 13. I love 13. Like, it's a very specific number for Drones. Like, he wants that 13. It's like not 12, not 12 and a half. It's got to be 13. Like, if Will McDonald gets 12 and a half, nope, sorry, I can't give you the bag. I can't give you the bag. That's a good one from Drones. So Drones has had his benchmark set for a Will McDonald extension. And look, when we get back to the center position, I think a lot of this too comes down to how this team views AVT. And that was a discussion we've had this offseason. Did they remember at the beginning of the draft process? A lot of it was, well, is AVT going to be right tackle? I mean, we talked about that very early in this process. Is AVT going to stay at right guard? So I do think that this will be a very intriguing year for Elijah Vera Tucker. But a lot of it also comes down to what happens, I think, health-wise. If he plays 17 games as a Pro Bowler, I think it's going to be very difficult for the Jets not to want to re-sign him. But then you also look at Elijah Vera Tucker. Is he going to be in a position for that second contract? And is his agent going to tell him you can make even more in the free agent market? So there's a lot of different options. And that's where I think this battle is coming from too. Because there's a world where Joe Tippman might not be starting on open day and it's Josh Myers at center. But again, you're an injury away from football for Joe Tippman stepping in to be a starting guard. And if let's play the scenario. If Elijah Vera Tucker is out for 5 to 6 weeks, Tippman comes in, plays a great guard, is healthy, is able to perform in the position exceptionally well, then I think the decision will be easier for the Jets. They'll look in and say, well, we got an experienced center. We have a good young guard that we still haven't taken control, and Elijah Vera Tucker got hurt again. I mean, this is another year where Elijah Vera Tucker is barely going to make double-digit games for a season. And like I said, the last 3 seasons, as much as I love Elijah Vera Tucker, you look at the numbers, 27 out of 51 potential games. And availability is something that is incredibly important to teams. And even last year, he played 15 games, had to miss 2 games. So, and I do think Vera Tucker played very well last year. But the big thing you look at this team is you wonder what the assets. They don't have to worry about paying Olu for a bit. They don't have to worry about paying some of these other players. I think John Simpson you can keep for a decent contract, but there's a chance AVT gets a massive contract because don't forget he's a former first-round pick, and you see teams, they take risks. If you're a first-round talent, they're going to take a risk on you because they know your talent. They know you were picked in the first round for a very specific reason. So when I look at this center bow, I think it weighs into the guard bow a little bit too, because there's a world where AVT is not in the 2026 Jets. As much as I love AVT, as well as he's played here, I just look at this scenario and I go, I do think that there are a lot of different options here, but this is definitely an intriguing battle. And look, this is really a battle that makes sense. I mean, you have 2 guys that have started over 30 games at that position. There really isn't that anywhere else on this Jet team. I think the only other battles maybe is Stevens at corner, although I think Stevens will likely start the season at corner. Maybe Stevens makes the transition to safety. I mean, I do think some of these younger guys that the Jets draft are probably battling for more role positions on this team, not everyday starters or not, the majority of the snaps. Even the only other battles I can really see is maybe depth in the wide receiver room. I think depth in the tight end room are the really other battles. Because, again, a lot of those guys are unproven, where we've seen the proof with these 2 centers. We know that they can play in the NFL, and we know that they can be successful at their positions. Thank you so much for joining us here on Rich Sports Talk. We always appreciate it. Give us a like and subscribe so we can get that algorithm to get more Jet fans here as well. And, of course, Make sure to join us after the live stream. You can comment on the video below. I'll make sure to get to your questions as well. And check us out wherever podcasts are available. If you missed the show today and you want to take us on the go, wherever a podcast is available, you can listen to the latest episode of Rich Sports Talk. You can also check out some of our other videos on the channel, not only just on the New York Jets, but on sports uniforms and jerseys. I just went through my ranking of all 8 City Connect uniforms for Major League Baseball. So if you're a big uniform fan and want to check that out, go check that out on the channel now. But make sure to come back so you can get more great Jets content throughout the offseason. Of course, we'll be talking position battles. We'll be talking all the Jets' latest headlines. And of course, if they make any moves, we will be here to break it down. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Rich Sports Talk. We will see you next time.